regular scheduled board meeting for the Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Taylor Jacobs,
Here.
Jerry Love, Jody Colton,
Here.
Ingrid Holmes,
Here.
Daryl Anderson,
Here.
Melvin Getwood. You have a quorum.
Let's stand for the invocation pledge. We thank you for this time to come together to do business of your city. We pray now for your guidance, for your understanding, that we make decisions that will be beneficial to the citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone should have a copy of the minutes from a regular board meeting held December 4th and a special joint meeting held on December 5th. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And next we have the communication. Mr. Stokes.
Yes, good evening, directors. The 124th annual banquet of the Chamber of Commerce is coming up at the end of this month. And we'd certainly like to have as much attendance as possible so that we can represent. As of right now, I believe 2 of your colleagues have committed. Staff will be represented. So if you're interested, please let myself or Joe know. You also have a flyer in your packet giving you all of the details. And the new president stopped by my office this morning and wanted me to convey to you all that if you happen to have attended last year, he promises that you'll get in on time, get out on time, and it'll run smoothly. And if you weren't there last year, you don't know what I'm talking about, but it was interesting. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you for the information, please. Those that are interested in going, please, let's try to get out to these events. Next we have our CEO report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of things I want to highlight to you directors from my report. Much of December was spent continuing to evaluate firms that provide grant services. One of the things that I'm specifically keen on identifying are firms that search for grants. Never been in this arena before. Lots of firms offer the services of you identify the grant, and then we will write it, and then we'll apply, and then if you win, then you're on your own. We really, because of the fact that we're limited in staff and we've got other things going on, we need a full service provider that, most importantly, seeks out grants from all various services, as well as applies on our behalf, and if we are successful, then administers that grant on our behalf. So those are the types of firms that I'm trying to zero in on and keep you updated on. And I fully, there were going to be a couple of items for your consideration tonight. We're going to move those to February, but I'm certainly hoping that at this beginning of the year we can get the ground running, because we need to, in addition to our own annual budget, we need to supplement that in order to to attack the strategic plans that we have and the strategic priorities. So that is going to be a major thing that I want to keep us focused on, and that's securing entities to provide us with those grant services. The other thing that I wanted to highlight, had the good fortune of attending the Greater Houston Partnership's annual Economic Outlook. I was accompanied by Ms. Muller. And the reason I want to highlight that is just to explain, a lot of times it's a little bit confusing. We're way over here next to Louisiana, why would we care about the Greater Houston Partnership? Well, as I point out in my report, the 12 county membership of the Greater Houston Partnership goes way eastward all the way over to Waller and Fort Bend, northward to Walker County, southward to Galveston and Brazoria. But more relevant to us, westward, it goes to Chambers County, one county removed from us. I don't suspect that they will ever make petition to have necessarily Jefferson County join, but because they're the energy capital of the world, and we're the gateway to the energy capital and energy city, we will always be linked one way or the other. So I feel it's important for the PAEDC to have a seat at the table as the region's economic outlook is discussed, as decisions are being made, especially as they relate to the energy sector. And as I mentioned to you in my report, the Biden administration identified 7 hydrogen hubs across the country, and the Houston region is one of those 7. And they identify the region to be from the Louisiana border all the way over to Katy. So we are a part of that hydrogen hub, which means a number of jobs going to come our way, a great deal of focus, a great deal of construction. As you probably know, just shy of Port Arthur, bumping up against Beaumont, is presently under construction what will be the country's largest hydrogen generating plant. And so those are the kinds of things that, again, as discussions are being had as they center around Houston, well, no, we're not Houston, but we are integrally linked and always will be as long as we are focused on energy, and they're the energy capital of the world. Other thing that I wanted to highlight, last month, the Port of Port Arthur, at U-Haul's request, in conjunction with approving the purchase of land that we own, conducted over the course of 2 days community engagement sessions over at the West Side Community Center. I had the good fortune of being able to pop my head in on each of them. Very well attended. I had asked my counterpart, Mr. Larry Kelly, to come and give you a debrief tonight. Unfortunately, in a conflict, but he will be here at your February meeting. The main thing that's worth the price of admission is to see the animation that we all requested, the 3D animation of the flyover. And I can just tell you, if you weren't able to attend, it was a big hit. You walk in and everyone's glued to the big screen showing that animation, because it ends right in front of the community center. So you're standing inside of it watching a screen that brings the car right into the parking lot of the community center. So it's pretty neat. So I'll have him present that at your meeting next month. And then lastly, what I wanted to highlight to you is, as I mentioned to President Anderson earlier today, we've got to hire. This is just killing us, this limited staff. And so when I say we specifically, Ms. Muller and myself, fully expect to be underway and posting before the end of this month, on or before. So that means that we'll be kind of head down in interviews and going through resumes and all of that. It'll be a happy busy, because we've got to replenish the stock, so to speak. So just keep that in mind, keep city thoughts, because like I said, we've got to get back fully staffed. In your packets, 2 things that I wanted to point, going back to Greater Houston Partnership. I did include in your packet the takeaway that was provided to all of the attendees of the event back in mid-December. It's the 2024 Economic Outlook and Workforce Outlook put together by the Research Department of the Greater Houston Partnership. So you have that, and also by way of the Texas Economic Development Council, I also provided you a copy of their latest version of the Local Economic Development Guide. Good reference material. Whenever you have a question, more than likely, if you can't get me, you can't get Charlie, there's a good chance that an answer is in that Local Economic Development Guide. I'll let the rest of it just stand as you get a chance to read, and with that, one more thing, sales tax workshops. As you know, you have, in case you don't know, you have voted and elected by majority to have a on-site workshop. And so TEDC is looking at the first week in March. The reason I don't have an exact date for you is what I'm getting ready to say. Dr. Getwood asked me to inquire of Charlie and by extension Kenneth if they would be willing to do the 2 modules that we lose by having it on site. I think I explained to you that if you do one of the regional ones, you get the sales tax module, the Open Meeting Act module, and the Public Information Act module. Charlie is looking at his schedule and trying to juggle some things so that he can join TEDC. They'll cover the sales tax portion, and he will cover the PIA and the OMA. So as soon as I get those 2 to nail down the date, I will let you know. Also looking at potentially a Saturday. No, it wouldn't be all day like the retreat. I can see you now. Wouldn't be that, but just as an option. But more than likely it would be in the evening on a weekday, but they wanted to provide you with as many options as possible. So I'll keep you posted on that. With that, Mr. President, that completes my report.
Anyone have any questions or comments about the report? All right, Mr. Stokes, thank you for the update. Being there are no consent agenda items for tonight, let us move to the non-consent agenda items. Agenda item number 1, to review, discuss, and possible action to approve the EDC quarterly financial report.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a first time. The advent of the quarterly report is a function of a request that was received last summer by the Financial Committee in conjunction with a suggestion from Attorney Zach that there be more continuous review and acceptance of the financial reports. So the plan was to implement this in 23-24. We just completed the very first quarter, so thus the very first quarterly report. In terms of highlighting anything, there's nothing that jumps out at you. We're not behind in anything. We certainly expect in the second quarter that there will be a couple of, at least 1, maybe 2, revenue jokes that we did not plan on. Good revenue jokes in that the sale of the land to the Port of Port Arthur was not something that we would have known that we were going to do and put in the budget. So it will actually, if you remember, we did a balanced budget. So anything that comes in above is going to be sort of icing on the cake and give us some freedom to perhaps do some more aggressive things that we otherwise would not have done with the balanced budget. So we're on track. This is also in addition to being the first quarterly report submitted to you for approval. It also adopts the formatting that the Finance Committee recommended adoption to the full board. Again, basically last summer. I will continue to work with Dr. Getwood and his committee to put in any fine tuning that needs to be done. But I think at a high level, this meets the requirements that the Finance Committee asked me and by extension, Mr. Depp, to implement. Any questions?
I have a question. The year-to-date balance is reflected in that September column. In particular, the revenues section, why do we have negative, numbers right there? In particular, the rental income, the two rental income lines.
Generally speaking, we're closing out, keeping in mind that we're connected to City Hall in terms of their reporting. They're typically running a little bit behind. So at the request of the Finance Committee, show us what you knew we were expected to do and what has come in to the point that you're generating the report. So at some point, all of this goes to black. It's just when we happen to have frozen it. But rest assured, we're not behind on collecting rent. No, there's no tenant that is on their way out of here or anything like that. It's just a function of the rollover plus coupled with that when we happen to freeze the report. So it could be that, in fact, I'll be happy to do this if we update next week, assuming the books down the street are closed, these numbers will change. And so when you get your monthly report in February, or I can provide it sooner, that change will be reflected. So I thank you, and certainly with your financial background, you don't like to see red, and I certainly understand that. But rest assured, we are not running behind or in any jeopardy of anything. It's just a function of when things are accounted for at a certain time between ourselves, who know what we are supposed to get and what we spend, versus what's been reported that we're linked to.
So it's a timing.
Yeah, and Mr. Jacobs ad nauseum, going back to last year, short of us bringing it in, there's no way around it. And I'm not opposed to that, but you witnessed firsthand, as well as, of course, Ms. Holmes was on the council. Not everybody was excited about the idea of us potentially just doing our own accounting. But we'll just we'll soldier on with the system that we have. But rest assured, specifically myself, but also Mr. Kev, we have a close eye on things. We are not in any jeopardy, but there will be an occasional red depending on what has been updated in the system. Questions?
Is it normal to be running that far behind? I mean, September and here we're at January. Is that something that normally?
We're not running behind our strategic partner, our vendor, if you will. And there's new leadership there, and have every hope that some new things will be implemented that may change that.
I would like to see us look at that, because $100,000 behind is significant on these payments. So if we could maybe, in the next couple of weeks, maybe you can send us some information about that.
And an update as we
And I
get more numbers.
particularly
Yes, ma'am.
about that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Now, one more call.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it may just be expedient for us to have a little more, just because this is a new process, right? I think it may be a bit more expedient for us to have some detail or description of the report, because it's clear that this was it was prepared in a specific format. And I also see that Some of these balances are cleared or back in the black for December. So just knowing the cutoff, it appears that the cutoff is December 31st, but again, that additional detailed explanation will probably help inform all of us of what we're actually looking at
Sure,
moving
ma'am.
forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir?
Yeah, we probably only need it once.
Just one nice comment, because September is the close of the year. And so it's very important to know what happened to $120,000 as the
You keep up with
close of the year. Well, I mean, it's a combination.
I understand. Yes,
Thank you.
it goes back to Ms. Holton's question, but I think I'll just leave my answer there. We're working with our partner, and we'll continue to do so. And we'll add more detail. I will update you on the deficit as we get more information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns about the financial report that y'all are thinking about right now? So, next month, I know it's gonna be more, so next month, we will have, hopefully, what September really ended as versus,
What the entire fiscal year?
correct?
Okay, absolutely.
That's what we want to see.
September.
Yeah, what that look like, just for clarity's sake. Not to-
Sir, just for clarity's sake, we don't control that.
I said hopefully.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I missed the hopefully. Thank you, you're right. Okay, hopefully.
And whenever you do get it, finally.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I will just add, we always, every minute of the day, know what we have invoiced, what we have contracted, and what we've brought in. It's just, that's not official. We know it, we're obviously sitting here, I'm signing the paperwork, but we're relying on another system. So the word hopefully is the optimal word. I will certainly do that. And assuming that you do approve this report in February, you'll get a monthly report. And you will not get another quarterly report unless you want an update of this until the end of the next quarter.
So, would it make sense? Okay, so this is what's actually processed, this is what's happening across the street. Wouldn't it make sense if you have the numbers and you know what we really are, to let us see that along with this? So if you know what we spend, what the actual account looks like versus what's been processed through the city, wouldn't it make sense for us to get not just what's been processed, but what we're really looking at, so we won't have these questions about these red lines? Oh, you see what I'm saying?
I do.
If that would clarify, now, that we don't want to muddy the water anymore, just gonna clarify some things, that would be perfect to know exactly where we really are versus, those things that are pending.
Yes, sir, I understand. The column that Secretary Jacobs pointed out, that's representing the end of the year in and of itself. So, not to complicate it, I understand what you're saying. Show what we know would have been where we finished on September 30th, regardless of what's been processed, not processed. Then at a certain point, if there's a discrepancy between what we think we did versus what our vendor thinks we did, then to alert you to that.
Exactly.
Okay? Okay. No problem. Do that.
Anything else on this one? We're not accepting our do anything with this, right? But this is a report.
No, you do have to, you need a motion.
All right, give me a motion to, but accept this report, just accept this report.
That's assuming you are. If you're rejecting it, then you need a motion.
It's a report until it's corrected.
Well, I don't think that the report is incorrect. I think the concern for me when the question was raised, does this mean that we have people who have not paid rent? And so at the close of September, when the budget year ends, by December, all of these numbers in September should be accurate.
Correct.
So, you know, this is accurate and we have to accept it as printed. If it's not accurate, is what raises the question.
I guess my response would be it's accurate, but unsettled. Until we do all the things that you've asked for, which isn't going to make it any more accurate, it's just going to give you more meat on the bone to see what the differences are. It'll be the same numbers, but you'll go, oh, okay, I see that, all right, their books haven't closed yet, hypothetically. My first year here, the books were closed in end of January a year ago for the fiscal year. Oh, I know, I'm talking about in terms of when the books were closed down the street.
I move that we postpone
Okay.
accepting this report until some of the questions are answered that we've raised today.
So we're taking this,
Yes.
you can go ahead and second the table.
I second.
All right, so we're going to table agenda item number 1 until we receive further information. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll table agenda item number 1. Agenda item number 2. To review, discussion, and possible action regarding entering into a professional service and consulting agreement with SoCo Group LLC for the provision of on-call engineering related consulting services. Mr. Stokes, I'm sorry, may I have a motion?
I move. Second.
It's been moved and second. Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. This particular item involves basically access and instant access when we are in need, primarily as we start to dive into greater marketing of our industrial parks, as we start to take on other activities in conjunction with our stakeholders like the Port of Port Arthur. I have found that I need to be able to have someone available to us where we can just call upon them on an as-needed basis. We need some aerial photography, we need some surveying, don't need it day in and day out, just need it maybe a one-of, but we need someone, sort of like a lawyer on retainer, we need someone that's readily available to us and on access. So that is what this particular item calls for. Chose the SoCo Group because we are already doing 2 contracts with them that you all approved towards the end of last year as it relates to the industrial park. This allows us to have access to them, like I say, on an ongoing, on-call basis. If nothing ever comes up, then we never need to tap into the services, but it's highly unlikely. Almost once a week, we either get a call, or I have a need, or other staff has a need for something as it relates to the engineering this will provide us.
Questions? Now, just for clarity, this is, as need, so payments as need, right?
You have it.
All in favor?
But not to exceed.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I saw that.
Sorry.
So, agenda item number 3 and agenda item number 4, we're gonna ask that those be tabled until, our next meeting. Agenda item number 3 and 4 will be tabled until our next meeting. Agenda item number 5. Review, discussion, and possible action regarding entering into a professional services and consulting agreement with Retail Strategies, LLC, for provision of a community development partnership in downtown strategic revising plan and implementation support services. Mr. Stokes, I'm sorry, may I have a motion, please? I'm going too fast.
So moved.
Second.
Just been moved in second. Mr. Stokes.
Thank you. A couple of years back, Retail Strategies had been brought in specifically by the Small Business Development Center to take a look at our downtown as well as provide some feedback on strategies that could be implemented specifically in conjunction with the strategic plan that the city already had. Fast forward to 2024, as it relates to the Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation, we're about to embark upon entrepreneurship by way of our Center for Entrepreneurship. And as I have mentioned before, and eventually documented in our strategic plan, our intent is to be a contributor to the revitalization of downtown by way of training and graduating entrepreneurs out of our business incubator. And for those businesses that are brick and mortar based, we want them as a part of the quid pro quo for providing them those services over 3 or 4 years to set up shop downtown. That will be a catalyst to the strategic plan that the city has in terms of revitalization in conjunction with what Motiva is doing with their 3 buildings, so forth and so on. So I have sat down with Retail Strategies and asked them to basically broaden what they conversed about with the city back in 2022, to broaden that to include what we're going to be doing in entrepreneurship as it relates to the revitalization effort. With them, the unique thing about them is that they not only do strategies as it relates to downtown, they also have a division that focuses exclusively on business support, which ties in directly to the things that we will be doing in the press building as it relates to entrepreneurship. So I'm very excited about the opportunity of working with them and, like I say, getting them to focus on two prongs on our behalf. Our contribution to the revitalization of downtown, as well as what we're going to be doing as it relates to entrepreneurship.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 6, regarding advising the descriptor applied to the PAEC tuition reimbursement program to clarify whether the benefit is to Port Arthur residents regardless of which school the student matriculated from, so long as the school is within Jefferson County, or applying the descriptor to them as the program participates to students who matriculate from a high school associated with either Port Arthur
President. Where this stems from, at the City Council's December 19th meeting, we had on the agenda, the item that you have in front of you, that was to have a renewal of our program. You had approved that back at your December meeting, and so this was just taking it over to City Council to have them approve the contract. I received a question from one of the council members. Basically, long story short, this was Councilmember Beckham, and so she put her legal hat on, and she just, if I could paraphrase, in her mind, the language was not crystal clear enough to spell out who it is that we're providing this benefit to, excuse me. I was not there that night, so I could not address that. But long story short, as I watched the replay, I've kind of been a little confused, and so that's why I want direction. This is a program that had been long running, long before I got here. So, just put it plainly, I was kind of shocked because the language has always worked. Prior to my getting here, what's wrong with it? So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I need to be able to address Councilmember Beckham because this will be back, this has been tabled. It'll be back on City Council's agenda probably next Tuesday. They're expecting, in fact, they tabled it to give you all an opportunity to give me some direction on it.
I don't have two lights on, who's going first?
Okay, this is what she meant by it. Because the city of Port Arthur, you'll have children in the city of Port Arthur in various sections that attend Nederland schools and attend Port Neches schools, although they live in Port Arthur. And so she wanted to make sure that they live in Port Arthur, and just because they don't attend a Port Arthur school but have residents in Port Arthur, that they're included in this. That was the whole thing behind that.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sorry. Then I call upon you for help, because it looks like it says that. So there's got to be some adjective that's being missed here. And that's why I said, well, should it be Jefferson County? That you live in Port Arthur, but you attended and matriculated from a school in Jefferson County. I see you shaking your heads on that. Yes, sir.
It clearly states Port Arthur resident. It doesn't matter what school you go to, it clearly states Port Arthur resident. When you look at the application, the whole 9 yards, I don't know what you have that you're looking at, but I have an email with what goes out with the application. It clearly states Port Arthur resident. And if you don't have that, I can get that too.
No, I think that's what I have in front of me in the background, but this was also what the city council had. So again, I'm trying to track with.
I get that. I get that because when you think about Port Arthur, you're talking about the schools. But we had a discussion initially when we first implemented this program, and it was crystal clear that we could not exclude anyone that lived within the city limits, no matter what school. You can go to school in Louisiana. If you live in Port Arthur, you can apply for any of these programs. And that's even going to apply to the next one as well.
Okay.
It's just Port Arthur residents.
So, as we say in engineering, works as designed. There is no change to the verbiage.
I mean, unless we want to limit the Port Arthur residents, because right now it includes everyone.
Okay. Vice President Holmes?
That was,
That was okay. So,
that's okay.
So the direction that I feel I'm getting from the board is that for this program, no change is needed to its verbiage.
And just reemphasize that it states Port Arthur resident, that's anyone that lives within the city limits.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Do we need to vote on that direction? Do we, all in favor? Opposed? Just in case. discussion and provide staff direction regarding revising the descriptor applied to the PAEDC's youth employment program. Clarify whether the program is to apply to only youth that live in the Port Arthur extraterritorial jurisdiction or any student that resides within Jefferson County. May I have a motion?
Wait. This is number 7?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question here though, from the budget.
The other question.
Or,
Number 7.
We'll just give it to
oh yeah, we just need a motion. Nothing. I just need a motion.
So,
Second.
It's been moved and second, Mr. Stokes.
Okay, basically, same situation.
Same answer, I'm sorry.
Duly noted. Again, this was Councilmember Beckham, and basically this all on the same lines of clarification. So my takeaway is that it's going to be, the board is going to give me the same direction. It is accurate as originally intended, and no need for change.
Emphasize Port Arthur resident. That's
And I see lights.
Mine doesn't have anything to do with where they live. Mine has to do with the budget impact. Providing payment of their wages ranging from $18 to $20 an hour. This is for a high school student, just graduated, no skills, in a training session, $18 to $20. That's a little high. That's a lot high.
Before I address that, I need permission because the agenda item is the verbiage. It happens to have been accompanied with some background that was attached to the original resolution. I don't mind answering the question, but Ken, I don't need you throwing something at me.
No, I would say, being that the question was in related to the verbiage, not the inner details of the payments and things, that would have to be brought at another time to discuss.
Okay. So when can I do that? When can I do that?
Any other questions concerning agenda item number 7? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 8. Review, discussion, and provide staff direction regarding whether the PADC should collaborate with the stakeholder or State College of Arthur to create a paralegal workforce program for students studying to become paralegals akin to its current commercial driver's license and certified nursing assistant programs. May I have a motion, please?
I move.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Stokes.
Alrighty, hit the trifecta. This also was a topic at the December 19th City Council meeting. Also from Councilmember Beckham. She noted that she is involved with the paralegal program at Lamar State College, Port Arthur, and feels that that may be something that we need to look at because she feels that there's, the classes are always full and it's a high demand. The reason I would need director renewal because we don't currently have that, and to implement it is going to take some hoops. So very succinctly, as a Type A organization, we are limited by certain industries that we can provide funding for training. Paralegal doesn't fit into that. So that then gets us into the second category of parameters. If by chance it didn't fit the first parameter, then it was decided that for this organization, it would then follow whatever the Texas Workforce Commission's thought process was on high demand jobs, and specifically what our regional workforce solutions board considers high demand jobs, which they will generate on a monthly basis, post on their website. Paralegal does not appear on that. Okay? So this corporation would have to come up with an entirely different mechanism and then ask someone's blessing for that mechanism to violate the other two statutes. And that's probably going to involve Austin, but I serve at your pleasure. I'm always up for a road trip. But that's what it would take, I think. Probably a wonderful program, but if you're not in paralegal, but you're in something else that we don't fund, you probably think your program is pretty darn good too.
So, at this point, we have to do this, our annual meeting, so
Yes.
let's adjourn our regular meeting temporarily at 7 and convene our annual board meeting. And we'll start that roll call.
Taylor Jacobs. Here. Jerry LaBeouf. Jody Holton. Here. Ingrid Holmes. Here. Daryl Anderson.
Here.
Melvin Getwood. You have a form.
Thank you. My first non-consent agenda item is to review, discuss, and consider the approval of a selection of the president of the board of directors of the corporation. May I have any nomination? Go right ahead.
I'd like to nominate Daryl Anderson.
Any other nomination? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Agenda item number 2, review, discuss, and consider the approval of the selection of the vice president of the board of directors of the corporation. Nominations?
I nominate Ms. Ingrid Holmes.
Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review, discuss, consider approval of the selection of the secretary of the board of directors of the corporation. Nominations.
Nominate Taylor Jacobs.
Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, review, discuss, and consider the approval of the selection of treasurer of the board of directors of the corporation. Nominations.
I'd like to nominate Dr. Melvin Getwood.
Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This time we will adjourn our annual meeting and reconvene our regular meeting. Continuing with agenda item number 8, which I am completely confused on by its own. So, at this point,
If it doesn't meet the guidelines of what we can do, I don't think there's anything we can change but the law. And at this time, would not be my recommendation to do that, to change the law to make that happen.
any other comments?
I agree with that sentiment.
Okay, so now we're gonna say technically, because we were just given direction, we don't have anything to vote on anyway, so, just, let it be known that this is something we cannot do. It doesn't fit the mold of the EDC. Just convey that message. Well, if there be nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Moving and second, we adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, happy New Year, and have a great rest of the month, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Stay safe, stay warm.